Knees and toes.
The shoulders have to do with anything.
Because of what you did to my bold prediction. Yes, I'm taking this too far, but I don't care. We're
The
going.
noise is great for those who are audio only.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into a special edition of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Today, we have color commentator for the Colorado Mammoth, Jamie Shewchuk. Jamie, thanks for jumping on with us, and how's it going?
Pretty good, man. Just got a dump of snow here Friday night in Denver, and it's all melting. My daughter's soccer tournament got canceled this weekend, but so it's been a chill weekend with the family, which is always nice. And a Mammoth game last night, so.
Yeah. You're getting all the snow. Ours is all melting.
Yeah.
It's complete opposites of what we're probably used to, but what we got you on for the Mammoth. What would be one word to describe the Mammoth season with 5 games left on their schedule?
Ooh, there's a few that come to mind, but honestly, and I don't know how the Mammoth guys are going to feel about this, but surprising, really. At the beginning of the year, there's a lot of question marks about the offense. No Eli McLaughlin due to firefighting commitments, and, happy for him, taking care of himself outside the lacrosse world. But, the core of the team is still there, and, Ryan Lee going down early, so for me, being an offensive guy, a lot of questions were surrounded around the offense, but, credit to Brad Self and Pat Coyle and the coaching staff for what they've been able to do. They made a big trade, gave up a lot for Jack Hanna, and then they went on a 7-game win streak. So, I would say surprising, but at the same time, just knowing Pat Coyle and the type of coach he is, Robert Hope leading that locker room, Dylan Ward in net, they always have a chance, right? They're always going to be able to compete, but I didn't think that they'd win 7 in a row and be sitting second in the league at this point of the season. So I'd say a little bit surprising.
Yeah, I think during our preseason predictions, I had them outside of the playoffs, but thinking about it now and looking at Pat Coyle and how I have him up in maybe the top 3 coaches in the league, I feel like I should have seen this coming. It wouldn't have been 3 straight years of missing the playoffs, so I should have seen this type of, maybe not, sitting 9-4, but I should have seen at least them getting back into the playoffs going. But we'll start out that front gate. It's nearly a complete different group than it was last year. You got Connor Robinson out the door, Zed Williams get traded in the offseason. Will Malcolm and Thomas Vela are pretty much the only holdovers from last year. How impressive has this group been this season with all the fresh faces in it?
Yeah, clearly, you have big offensive weapons on both sides of the floor, righties and lefties, and but you mentioned Thomas Vela. I love those. He's the third lefty if you want to coin him there, and just his role he plays. He bangs in the middle. He knows he's got to get Andrew Q's hands open for that outside bomb he has, and so I think just the balance that they have, like they have the gunners, they have the guys that are going to go to the net. Jack Hanna on the other side, Braden Saris is fitting in well, playing his role, and it's just been impressive. And I know hearing from the guys, and I've had conversations with Jason Bishop, the offensive coordinator. He is a big X's and O's guy. He's very prepared. They have their calls throughout the week, so you can tell when they're dialed in. They'll say it's offense by committee, but you look at everybody. When Q has the ball, Will Malcolm is running around, banging, crashing, setting picks, slip in the middle. So, everybody's doing a bit of everything, right? It's not like you have just one guy sitting on the outside. Some players play like that and they're successful, but it's an offense by committee. And, Andrew Q is just playing absolutely absurd lacrosse right now. I think this balanced offense and Bishop, with the board there on the bench is doing great things.
Yeah, that's a perfect transition because Captain Clutch has made his mark in Colorado this year. I would love to see what his numbers would have been if he was healthy all year, because the run he's going on right now is absolutely insane. This league has saw a ton of players change teams this last offseason with free agency and trades. Is Andrew Q the most impactful addition to a team across the entire league?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, obviously the guys that are going to stand out are, your Bandits guys there with the departure of Chase Frazier and Kluche, and Frazier's having a good season in Vegas. But yeah, no doubt. We talked about it, about Andrew Q. I know when he was with the Swarm and came into the Loud House in Ball Arena, he was good. Like he was very dangerous. But if you look at that offense, right, like he wasn't one of the top guys. And I feel like with Eli not being here this season, Andrew Q stepped into that role, and he's the guy, and he just looks so comfortable. Like it's not like he has a lot of pressure on him. He's just playing good lacrosse right now, and it's a credit to that offense the way it's designed. So yeah, 100% Andrew Q. I mean, he was at nine games, and he's got what is it, 30 something goals, and Mammoth scored 5 goals last night, and he had 4. So I think 100%. I think most people would agree that Andrew Q is the biggest pickup offensively for any team this year.
Yeah, I know Connor Kelly was a big piece last year, but I feel like Georgia not having Connor Kelly this year might be thinking twice about that deal they made this last offseason. But Jack Hanna comes over in that trade earlier this season, and at the perfect time. I think him and Ryan Lee really only got a half together until he went down with another injury, which sucks for Colorado and sucks for the league because he's such a fun player to watch, and it felt like he was finally back to his old self. Now, he is a guy in market, then I'm sure that helped make this deal because Colorado really was the place he wanted to go. How big was it, and is it for a team to continue to get guys in market to be able to practice and less travel on the bodies? How important is it to get guys like Jack Hanna who are in market easier to practice with the guys there?
Yeah, it helps. And even going back to my time, I mean, the Mammoth came here in 2003, and I know they've always liked to have guys in market here, being involved in the community, coaching, doing appearances, that type of thing. But like the fan development piece is important. And I came in '07, and I mean there were already guys here, and me and a couple other rookies came down, moved down, and it's awesome. I mean, I just think from the team perspective, being together. No, obviously not everybody can be here, but I know there's 9 guys currently living here in market with the Mammoth, and they live together. They're eating together. They're going to workouts. One thing that the Mammoth has had, and for back, he's been there probably. He is the longest tenured Mammoth staff member is Joel Ray, their strength and conditioning coach, and he keeps the boys in shape, and can cater to everybody's little injuries. Like I had back surgery after my second season, and I didn't know if I was going to play again, how I was going to be when I returned. And without Joel, I wouldn't have been able to come back, number one, but also continue to play as long as I did. So I think that's important. And again, just the Mammoth does a great job in the community. There's a lot of clinics, camps going on, a lot of promotions. There's so many club programs here in Denver that have blossomed over the years. Like back when it was just, Denver Elite and 3D lacrosse, like that was kind of it. And now you have a lot of guys, former players, whether it's in the outdoor league with the Outlaws, that have started their own programs. So more kids are playing lacrosse, and I see on the jumbotron all the time. There's teams and clubs that I've never heard of, and kids are just having a blast watching the best sport in the world. So I think from that perspective, it's huge. And you look at the teams around the league that are successful, they have that ability to do it. It's not like Toronto, right, where the guys are there, they're spread out kind of around the surrounding area. But and then also too, there are a lot of us that have played for the Mammoth that have ended up staying here after our careers. Like there's a lot of my friends, my age, younger and older. Usually it's because you meet a girl and you end up getting married, and But I mean, I'm from Edmonton, so I mean, when I came to Colorado, I thought it was the best place in the world. I still do. I love this city, love this state, and so I think it's important, from that community aspect, and then building the team camaraderie. I know guys can have the ability to go shoot around, and Nathan Whittam, backup goaltender, is living here, so I know that's always nice when you have a goalie, and he's always willing to take shots. So I think it's huge.
A rookie that I feel has taken that next step and accepted more responsibility on this offense, especially with Ryan Lee going down, is Braden Saris. And I remember early on seeing him run the point on the power play, and I'm going, why the heck do they got a rookie doing this? It seemed like it was more trial by fire for this part of the season. When you see his game, or I should say, where have you seen his game grow the most that the plays almost seem like it's slowed down for him out there?
Yeah, it's awesome when you get those rookies that just seem, they're very mature, like wise beyond their years type thing. And Saris, yeah, he's just so calm, right? You watch him play, he's so calm. As a high lacrosse IQ, he knows who he's playing with, and he plays his role well. And when he gets his chances, he buries. He's not. If you look at the amount of touches, I know that's a stat now, which I think is awesome. He's probably not getting the most touches on the team, but he makes the best of. And I know, talking to GM Brad Self, they're really high on him, and they drafted him 5th overall. So I mean, he's been I think he has a high ceiling, and he's only going to continue to improve.
So the last one I got for you on the offense, who is an X factor for this offense this season? Either, for the final part of the season or has been that X factor all season. And it can be somebody that, might has needed to step up with all the injuries up there, or just somebody that's doing all the dirty work to free up the big time goal scorers.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say Andrew Q. I mean, it really is, but we touched on it earlier. I think I'm going to say Vela and Saris, like those, number 2, number 3 guys on their respective sides are, again, they're not getting the amount of touches that Q and Jack Hanna are going to get. Like, I mean, Hanna can create his own shot from anywhere on the floor, right? Will Malcolm, same thing. The guy's ridiculously fast. He had some just blew by defenders in the game last night against Ottawa and, failed to score. He had 1 goal called back, but I mean, him and Hannah will themselves to the net, but without the work of Vela, getting through the middle, clearing space, just, Q is one of the best, shoot around screen players that I've seen lately. And he does it so well. He's tall, he's lanky, and he's got a really quick release. He can shoot overhand. He's got the sidearm pull to the short side. And so I'm going to say, yeah, those kind of role players, if you will, guys like Thomas Vela. Unfortunately, he's gonna be out for some time. He suffered an injury in the game 2 weeks ago, or last week on Friday. But he had Jamison Bucktooth play his second game. He's only 20 years old, right? And the guys say he's getting better every practice. He looks great in practice. So I think the year they won in 2022. You had Ryan Lee go down, obviously, during playoffs, and then Eli McLaughlin, I think it was game 2 against Buffalo, went down, and you're like, uh-oh, here we go. And it was just that next man up mentality, and the guys got it done. So you never count this team out, and I think that's all coaching and the guys that they bring to that locker room, and the character and the resiliency.
So you went from playing on the field in Colorado to calling games up in the booth. Was this always the transition plan once your career was done, or was there maybe something else you were planning on doing and this kind of was just happened to fall upon you and like, yeah, let's give it a shot?
Well, it's interesting to think back now. I mean, I haven't been playing for 12 years, and fortunately I started my career, which I've been doing for 12 years now, right at the same time was my last year that I played. And, so I had that to focus on. But I mean, any athlete will tell you, your whole life, that's your identity. That's what you do. I'm a lacrosse player. And, I coached, we started the Denver Elite program, US Box LA, here in Denver with Matt Brown. And, so I had that, but I obviously just miss playing, miss competing, miss being in the room with the guys and, workouts during the week. And so I struggled there. I'm not going to lie. I feel like it took me 2 years to really kind of accept, okay, I got to move on here. And I remember I was going to games still, watching when they were on the road, and couldn't get away from the game, and loved the Mammoth, and, obviously knew the guys in the locker room. Pat Coyle, I played with him. And, so I felt like I was still part of it. And, Steve Govett, I remember texting him one day and just like, hey man, like, is there anything I can do for you guys. Like, I'll break down film. I'll give you a report. You don't even have to pay me. I'm watching. If you want to value my opinion, like, I happy to do something. And he kind of shocked me. He goes, "Yeah, why don't you try broadcasting?" And at the time, Connor McGahey, who has the voice of an angel in broadcasting. He's like all over Denver, has done everything. I think he's the PA guy for the Broncos, and he's the radio guy for the Avs now, and travels with the team. So, he was play by play, and Andy Lindahl, who I do play by play with now, was color commentary. So they put me in between the benches. I had no idea what I was doing. I remember Andy calling me like, "Oh, the game. We're gonna throw down you a lot, and just have fun with it." But like, I didn't, like anything, there's flow to it, and the amount of professionalism you need to have. Like, sure, I could talk lacrosse all day, but we're live, and so just figuring out, what value the audience what value I can give to the audience about lacrosse and the Mammoth and these extraordinary players that we're watching every weekend. Took me some time to figure out, but yeah, it definitely wasn't a plan. But it helped my transition, right? Like I said, every athlete goes through that after playing for your whole life. And one thing that I said, the game is still there. I'm just in a different part of it now. I'm behind the bench when I'm coaching, and now I'm up in the booth. Again, adding value to the audience is what we're doing there. So yeah, it definitely wasn't a plan, but I'm very excited that Steve gave me that opportunity. I've been able to work with Teddy Jenner, Andy Lindahl, Connor McGahey. So I've learned from real professionals, who do this for a living. So without them, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to pick it up.
We'll flip to the defensive side of the ball now. The captain of this team is one of the better and possibly best defensemen across the league, and Robert Hope. I mean, he leads the back end in loose balls. I know Pilato's there, but I'm excluding him because he's a face-off guy. But he's also leading in block shots. With such a young back end there, how much more responsibility has he even taken on in an already massive leadership role that he had before?
Yeah, I feel like, I think it was last weekend, Robert Hope passed John Gallant for second most games played with the Mammoth. Number one is Dylan Ward. So I feel like he's been here forever, and he has. And they've had a lot of success. Obviously, 2 finals appearances, 1 championship, and talking to the guys, like, yeah, he's another coach in the room. Extremely motivated. He's just the ultimate leader, right? He speaks when he needs to speak. He's a motivator. Extremely high IQ, and he leads by example. Yeah, the ball just ends up in his stick. Like, it's just, I don't know how he does it. And he's just super steady there on the back end. So he's obviously leading by example. But I think it's those times, lacrosse is such an emotional game of runs. He's the guy that John Gallant in between the benches tells me this all the time. Like, it's Robert Hope that's talking during TV timeouts. He's rallying the troops and, just keeping everybody calm. But, he's the guy saying, like, let's go, like, let's go. And so I think, to answer your question about he's been around, he's seen a lot of changes and on that back end, but he's been that leader. And, Pat Coyle has a typical style of defense, and I think Robert Hope and him are a lot alike, the way they play and the way Patty played later on in his career, I would say. But yeah, he's the ultimate leader, and there's a reason that they're in the mix and a competitor every season.
Tim Edwards is a guy I'm sure our listeners are absolutely sick of me talking about, because for years I've come up with trade ideas to try to bring him to Buffalo. This year, they're not asking him to battle it out at the dot. What have you seen in his game this year that you might not have seen last year or the year before, because he was getting run down by all those battles at the draw?
Yeah, the guy's a warrior. Like, you watch him play. He's not really big and, like, strong like a Warren Jeffrey type player, but again, just one of those guys that does his role so well. He leads by example. I know the guys in the locker room absolutely love him, and so yeah, it's kind of interesting. We've talked about that over the course of the year, and I remember during training camp asking Jordan Gillis, like, are there any surprises at training camp? And they're like, yeah, we got this face-off guy who's, like, really good, and I think we're going to keep him. So I think definitely, after a long defensive shift, because Timmy Edwards is very valuable on the back end, right? And he's got to go take every face off. 100% that's going to take a toll on you. I don't care who you are. So I think him being able to, just focus on the defensive end, and he'll push the ball in transition. Their philosophy with the Mammoth is, if you got a look, take it. He had one last night. Unfortunately, he missed the net and went back down the other end. And they scored, but he's got the green light to go. He's scored big goals in the past, but yeah, definitely the addition of Pilato has been huge, and been able to take some of that weight off of Tim Edwards' shoulders.
Now, Connor Knox seems like the prototypical Pat Coyle defender back there. His transition to the NLL, I should say, has his transition to the NLL been as simple as he's made it look, or do you maybe see parts of his game that if it blossomed in those 13 games?
Yeah, I didn't know much about him coming in the year. When you get the final roster, you're like, I live in Colorado, so I'm not seeing, what's going on in the junior leagues and in Ontario and BC and Alberta. But, I always try to ask questions. And yeah, the coaching staff is big on him. You're 100% right. Pat Coyle and that defense, Andrew McBride, defense coordinator, they have their style of player, and he's a big, tall, strong defenseman. And when you have Dylan Ward, in net, you can kind of adjust how you play. You don't see the Mammoth pressing out, right? You don't see them pressuring out to the wall. They're going to kind of stay at home. Dylan likes to see the ball, see the shots. So Connor Knox filling that void. Owen Down, I think was starting to come into his own. So I think Connor Knox been able to have more of an opportunity, to play them against the righty-o guys. Usually he's over there. But I think, same thing with we've talked about Saris. I think he's got a high ceiling, and he's only going to get better, especially playing, for a top team, and he's going to get some playoff experience most likely here. And I think he's only going to improve because of that.
Who on the back end is not getting enough attention that come playoff time, when the games mean the most, his name is going to be talked about, maybe even first on the national broadcast?
I mean, I got to go with my guy, Jordan Gillis. Like you watch him play defense. He's so athletic. He's so fast. I mean, you see him with the Under Armour shirt after the game, and it's like just bulging out. He's like just jacked, and he's so strong, and he's such a competitor out there. I specifically watched them last night, when he was on Jeff Teat, and just how aggressive he was when Jeff Teat didn't have the ball. And then when he did have the ball, there was one play that sticks out to me kind of late in the shot clock, and Teat got it, and Gillis was just all over him. He's got great feet. Sometimes he may extend out a little bit too much, and that's when he does get beat. But, I think he's a guy that's just been steady in that back end for many years for the Mammoth. Another local kid, married, bought a house, has a kid now. We actually work together, so I'm going to be a little biased there. But just knowing him personally, and what he brings to that locker room, and what he does on the floor, I think doesn't get noticed as much.
Dylan Ward has been a top-tier goaltender in this league pretty much his entire career. But this past couple seasons, I think it's fair to say he's been a bit lower than his own expectations and his standard might have been. But this year, I mean, he's put all the numbers together, and we have not seen these type of numbers since pre-COVID. Is there something in his game that you see that he maybe has adjusted to fix those areas of his game? Or is it just as simple as there's more skill out in front of him than there had been in the past?
I think it's a little bit of both. I can't relate to what a goaltender goes through, right? It's like a quarterback in football. I mean, it's the most scrutinized position, hockey goaltender. I mean, I'm an Edmonton Oilers fan, so we have our goalie struggles,
Right.
and we have so I don't know what they go through, but just knowing Dylan too personally, I mean, he's not your typical like goalie breed. Like, some of them can be a little quirky and but he's just a normal guy, but he's extremely competitive, and he does have that calming presence. I find, not so much last year, but 2 seasons ago, I found he was, kind of chirping a bit more than he was normally doing. I mean, I know he likes to have fun. Him and Teat had a little thing in the crease last night, but they were smiling about it, and I like that. He's getting in the game, but I feel like when Dylan's dialed in, he is by far the best in the game, and I think also, when he did come in, his rookie year, he didn't play right away. I think he was behind Ty Belanger at that point. But then when he did get the starting job, his career just elevated. In outdoor, he won a world championship. He was the best in the world, right? Outdoor and indoor. And I still think he's up there, but it's I think he set the bar so high for himself, right? And then it's like, where do we go from here? So then if he has, one bad game, or, he gets peppered with a few shots and they all go in, it's like, oh, what's wrong with Dylan? It's not that. And I think it's he's the ultimate professional. Um, and he's going to have a long career still too. You look at what Matt Vince is doing. I mean, I can put him up there, that he's going to play that long, and he's going to set a lot of goalie records, and hopefully get some more rings on his finger there with the NLL. But yeah, it's great to see him. He just looks dialed in. Like, leaving last night, it was a 10-5 game. Mammoth struggled putting the ball in the net, but he made some big saves, especially in the first half there, and he robbed Teed a couple times, and yeah, when he's on, I mean, I always say on the broadcast, like, the Mammoth are going to have a chance to win every single night.
Yeah, I think part of it might have also been the amount of games he was playing between the PLL and the NLL. He was making deep finals runs every single year, so there was pretty much no offseason for him whatsoever. But between the regular season and the playoffs, you have scored 138 goals. Is there one that stands out the most to you, though?
I did?
Yes.
I scored. Oh, okay.
At least that's what the research I did. 138.
there's a couple. My first goal in the NLL was special for me. I was drafted right at a junior, played Burnaby Lakers, and I got drafted to the Mammoth. They drafted Gary Binning, who was another offensive lefty, in the first round. I was a second round pick for them, and they cut Binning and kept me. Gary Gate was my head coach, who's one of my heroes, in lacrosse, and looked up to him. And I was, you're just starry eyed every time you see him. He's talking to me and telling me what to do out there. So, I mean, I was on the power play with guys like Gavin Prout, Dan Carey, Ben Prepchuk, Brian Langtree. Like, we were stacked. They won the year before I came. So, and then, you hear about these crowds it was Pepsi Center back then. And so I missed the first game because they signed Jordan Cornfield, who's another good buddy of mine from Edmonton, and they wanted to see him play. So he played game one. We were on the road. I can't remember where we were, but game two was at home against Rochester. Another one of my, guys I looked up to, John Grant Jr., one of the most filthiest offensive players we've ever seen. So I was really excited for that game. And I remember getting 18,000 fans, right? And you run out there when they call your name. They got the pyrotechnics. Everybody's going nuts. You're high-fiving Wooly. They got, Wild Bunch dancers on the Harleys. And, like, this is insane. Like, I'm playing lacrosse at the highest level. So I think just that moment of, going through all that. And then I set a pick for Dan Carey. He passed me the ball, and I knew somebody was coming, so I shot it far side, and I got absolutely rocked. Like, I was knocked out, and I remember just kind of like getting up, and it was so insanely loud. And that was kind of obviously a welcome moment. I scored and got absolutely hammered right in the middle of the floor, but it was, and that one got me going. I was really excited. I was fortunate. They put me on the power play with all those guys as a 21-year-old rookie. So that gave me a lot of confidence, to say, I belong here and I can contribute. So that one definitely stands out.
I was wondering if it was going to be the first one or if there was another one that in the back pocket there. But the Bandits versus Mammoth on Friday night in Buffalo. Game one was absolutely dominated by Colorado from start to finish. They're winning 20-9. What sort of game are you expecting to see between these two teams when they're squaring off in their second game of this series, which honestly could be a first-round matchup preview?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. They had, like, if playoffs start now, and it'd be Colorado Buffalo right now. So, this rivalry goes back to 2006. I mean, right. Back then, I'd go to my rookie year, I'd go to the office, and that was back when we had DVDs, to watch of games. And I watched that final. I think it was 16-9. The Mammoth won in Buffalo too. And, just hearing the guys talk about it. And so anyway, and then obviously, the back-to-back finals matches, and Colorado wins one, Buffalo wins one. So this rivalry literally goes back 20 years. I don't know how you guys feel about it out east there, but it's a real thing, and I think both teams step up their game, and they know that this is going to be a battle and it's going to be a good matchup. So, it's interesting. Last year Saskatchewan, Buffalo, top of the standings. Buffalo's kind of in the middle there, which we're not used to seeing. So, I'm sure that's something that John Tavares and their leadership is didn't expect to be in this situation. But I mean, now's the time, right? You got 7 games left of the season, and it's time to go. So I think it's going to be a great matchup. I'm sure it'll be a sold out crowd. I've only played there. I'd love to experience as a fan, playing in Banditland, but I know it's hostile territory. But people say that when they come to Ball Arena, right? It's one of the loudest buildings on lacrosse. Buffalo's the same, and just a great opportunity for these players. It's interesting, right? We talk about the offensive changes with the Mammoth. Obviously, Buffalo went through some, so maybe they're still trying to figure out some of their chemistry. I know Josh Byrne's been kind of banged up, and I don't know if the new rule where Paul Dawson can't sit in the crease and block shots is working against him, because I know he loves to do that. He's leading the league, I think, by far. I think Hope's second in the league, but Vino's Vino. He's talk about Dylan Ward, two of the best goaltenders in the world. So it's always going to be a good matchup. And but again, I think both teams, with the offensive firepower they have, they're very capable of just going off, just like the Mammoth did a few weeks ago. So be an exciting matchup. I'm looking forward to it.
What area of Colorado's game do you believe they have the edge over the Bandits in that will help them get that win on Friday night?
Ooh, I mean, I think it all comes down to their defense. I can't see them scoring 5 goals 2 games in a row, right? That's pretty rare. But I thought, if you look at Pat Coyle's interview after the game last night, like he just said, like the mood, like it just didn't feel right. I don't know if they were too calm, too lackadaisical, but they're not. They know that's not their style of game. They know what they need to do. They won 7 in a row this year, so they know what they need to get back to. It's Pat Coyle said, quoting him loosely here. It's not like we have to go back to the drawing board and fix everything. Like, they know what they need to do. So I think offensively, I think they're going to be okay. But I mean, when you're facing Dane Smith and Josh Byrne and that supporting cast there with the Bandits, you got to be sound defensively. And also too, like this time of year is when you got to clean up all the little errors, and the turnovers in transition, the early shots in the shot clock, maybe pull those out and just grind it out. So I think the Mammoth just seem to keep, be resilient, keep grinding no matter what the score is. That's what they're good at, and we've seen them have comeback wins. We've seen them when they're up. They're when they do maintain that mentality, they're okay. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just defensively, and just don't allow the Bandits to get those extra opportunities because of your errors.
Which battle are you most looking forward to when you watch this matchup on Friday night? Is it Hannah versus the Snoo? You got the Ward versus Vince matchup. You got the face-off top between Pilato and Farrell. I mean, Hope versus Smith. Or is there another matchup that's going to catch your eye on Friday night?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an offensive minded guy. I love seeing great offense, and it's I mean, Dane Smith is such a dynamic player. I mean, he goes to the net hard. He's got that quick first step. He's got great footwork, but his stick is always in the right position to feed, and he's become such a great feeder. The last decade he's been playing. So I think, um, and yeah, goal. That's a tough question. I can't really pin it down. I'd say, yeah, goaltending, absolutely. Ward versus Vince is always a great matchup, but yeah, I think just watching Dane Smith and Josh Byrne go against the likes of Robert Hope and Warren Jeffrey there on that side of the floor. Jordan Gillis will be on Josh Byrne, and so I think that matchup's going to be really exciting.
I just got 2 more for you here. For the Mammoth to get the win, what needs to happen?
I think it just goes back to the mentality. I think it's the mental side of it. Obviously, put what happened last night past you, and have good practice. Everybody get together, and like I said, going to Buffalo is always an exciting place to play. So it's not like they're not going to be jacked up to play, but I think it's just maintaining that level of that balance of being calm in the the adversity and the tough situations. You make a mistake, you got to move on type thing. So I think just the resiliency that we've seen, when they do come out on top, when they're like 2 weeks ago, they were down 5-0 right away. Dylan gets yanked. They put in Whittam. Dylan gets yanked again. Whittam stays in the whole game. They ended up winning. They only let in 3 goals in the second half, and the offense went off. So just, I think that mentality, and when they can maintain that and they play with that energy, but also that sense of calmness, I think is because shit's going to hit the fan, and it's how do you respond to that? So I think it's just a response to the adversity they face. Because they're going to put the ball in the net. They have the weapons, and they have Dylan Ward. So
my last question, it's similar to every interview. It's a different question each week, but it has nothing to do with the guest or the sport. What TV series do you wish you could go back and rewatch without knowing anything about it?
It's funny you say that. I never watched Sopranos, and I'm watching Sopranos right now, and it's unbelievable. But man, there's so many good ones. I mean, I got Breaking Bad was incredible, and people who ask me the same question who haven't seen it, I'm like, oh, you gotta watch this. I wish I was you, because every season just gets better and better, and the acting is just phenomenal. Yeah, so I'd say Breaking Bad. Sons of Anarchy was up there too on my list.
You just stole 2 of mine. I had
Yeah.
Breaking Bad and Sons of Anarchy. I also
Yeah.
threw in Game of Thrones, and then
Yeah.
it's not related to those 3, but The Office. I got that one as well.
Oh yeah.
We just got Peacock a couple weeks ago, but they got like those extended
Yeah.
deleted scenes type of thing, so it's like you're watching it all over. So I'm kind of getting a piece of it. But yeah, Breaking
Nice.
Bad's my 1, and Sons
Genius.
of Anarchy was number 2.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston was just phenomenal, right? You mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's one of those shows you root for the bad guy. Like he's doing really bad things, but you're like, I love this guy. Certainly with Tony Soprano now, it's like, man, Tony's awesome. He's such a jerk, but like I love this guy. You're not supposed to do that. So I think, credit to the writers, and how you can make the audience love a villain is pretty incredible.
Jamie, that's all I got for you. Thank you for jumping on the Buffalo Sports Collective. Do you want to let everyone know where they can maybe find you, and anything else you want to plug for the listeners?
Man, I kind of got away from the social media thing, but you can catch me on Mammoth home games. Watch Colorado Mammoth. Obviously ESPN Plus. I think we have an ESPN game coming up. I'm not sure about that, but that, and yeah. I mean, I'm pretty low key now. I got young kids and a full-time job, so I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn.
There you go. Yeah, if we weren't doing this,
Yeah,
I wouldn't be on social media either.
I'm not very exciting, so yeah.
There you go. But that's all I got. Thank you again for joining us on the BSC. Hope to talk to you down the road, and continue success with everything you're doing.
Thank you for having me.
We will be back Thursday with our normal episode to preview Bandits versus Mammoth. We'll talk to you all then.